The following was a blog post by John Goodman, posted on the 17th of August 2011. Included with it was a download link to $1.wave. The file in question has been converted to OGG format so that it may be uploaded to the wiki. Goodman mentioned in the post that he would be doing extensive research on the mystery surrounding this file. If he reports anything back, it will be posted here. After my computer got burnt to a crisp in a lightning storm, I was left with only my old computer. Fortunately, I had everything from my destroyed computer already backed up onto USB drives and CD-ROMs. My old computer was running Windows 98 and desperately needed an OS upgrade. It was time to search online for a new OS install disk that was at an affordable price. You might ask, why not just get a new computer? I would have, but because of this crappy economy, I didn't have the money to do so. So my only other option was to upgrade my old one. Anyways, I searched around eBay to see if anyone was selling a copy of Windows XP at an affordable price. There was no way my computer would be able to handle Windows Vista or 7, so I would just have to go with XP. Lo and behold, somebody was selling a full Windows XP clean install disk for only $1.45. Nobody else was bidding on it, so I placed mine. Even after I had placed my bid, nobody else did. Needless to say, I won the disc, without nobody else challenging me. A few days later, I received the disc in a white envelope. I opened the envelope and pulled out the disc. It seemed just like any other XP bootable disc. I turned on my computer and popped it in, and installed Windows XP as one normally would. While I waited for it to install, I popped some popcorn, took a dump, and watched some television. Occasionally checking on the progress of the installation and responding to dialog boxes, entering the registration code, etc. Finally, it finished installing and I could use the computer. The first thing I did was transfer everything I had backed up from my destroyed computer, to the old computer. CD after CD, USB drive after USB drive, and finally I got everything onto my computer the way I wanted it. I decided to randomly browse around the computer a little bit before I turned it off and get ready to go to bed. This random browsing led me to C Windows/media folder. Then I noticed a file in there called $1.wave. It didn't put the file on the computer, so I assumed it was installed along with all the other files in the folder. But I realized I didn't remember any such file ever being included with XP when I had it on my destroyed computer, before I upgraded to Windows 7. Curious, I double-clicked the file to open it. It was a very peculiar file. All I heard when I opened it was some weird static noise, almost as if it was some extremely distorted song. The file was just 4 solid minutes of this weird sound. It kinda creeped me out. I mean, it was nighttime, with my sleeping dog being my only company, and I found a file on my computer that I never put there, and wasn't a part of the original XP installation. And all it is 4 minutes of this weird static noise. Furthermore, it's in a system folder. Thinking it might be a virus of some sort, I scanned the file. Behold, one Trojan came up. I had no clue where I would have gotten it from. I'd barely been on the internet at all since Windows XP was fully installed. Suddenly, I realized I'd seen a file with this same name flash for a split second on the screen as this disk installed all the system files. I could only come to one conclusion. The disk had been tampered with. I decided to delete the Trojan, delete $1.wave, and do a full system scan with both of my antivirus programs, Malwarebytes Anti-Malware and Microsoft Security Essentials. It was going to take a crapload of time to finish scanning, so I decided to go to bed while I waited. I still felt a bit mad that I went through all that time to finally get my computer set up and upgraded the way I wanted, only to find out the install disk had been tampered with. I woke up the next morning, ate my breakfast, took a shower, brushed my teeth, and went into my computer room. I sat down on my computer and turned on the monitor, which I had turned off last night before I went to bed. I couldn't believe what I saw. My desktop background had been changed to a picture of a dollar bill. There were 2 errors saying that my 2 antiviruses had crashed, along with a bunch of other blank error dialogues that were all titled $1.wave. With a single OK button, every icon on my desktop had been replaced with a shortcut to $1.wave, even the recycle bin. My start button now said $1.wav, and the usual flag icon was replaced with a dollar sign. When I clicked the start button, or in this case the $1.wav button, to bring out the $1.wav menu, every icon there was also replaced with $1.wav. The administrator name was changed to $1.wav, and the account picture was that of a dollar bill. I clicked Don't Send Report to both the errors saying Malwarebytes and Microsoft Security Essentials had crashed. I then clicked OK button on each $1.wav error box. Okay, the screen was cleared of all those windows now. I tried to reopen my antivirus program, but they both gave me this blank error titled $1.wav. I clicked OK on those, I went to the $1.wav menu and clicked Shut Down. But I just got the familiar clunk error sound. I tried the power button, nothing happened. Finally, I just unplugged the computer and it finally shut off. I plugged it back in. I booted safe mode and tried opening the antivirus programs there. But when I did, my computer made the weirdest noise ever and abruptly powered off. I tried pressing the power button, but nothing happened. It didn't even whir up. That freaking virus had completely destroyed my only remaining computer, and I hadn't even gotten it from a website or anything. It had come with my operating system. Well, that was that. I had to go get some things at the grocery store, so I left the house along with my dog. I have yet to earn enough money to buy myself a new computer. I do everything computer related off of a friend's laptop that he generously let me borrow when I need to check my email, do something on my bank account online, etc. I've used that same laptop to type up and publish the story to the internet, along with $1.wav, which I have gone through and manually removed the malicious coding from. After a certain encrypted message I read talking about some last evidence that will have to be destroyed if I share it with anybody, which you will read about in just a moment. I have decided to research as thoroughly as I can about the mysterious $1.wav, until I have figured out the sinister mystery that surrounds it. How did I get back $1.wav after my computer was destroyed, you ask? Well, when I got home, my dog's ears perked up, and she began growling menacingly. She followed a scent into the computer room. Everything seemed normal, however, when I looked where my second destroyed computer was, it wasn't there. Everything else was still there, but the computer was gone. I thought of a robbery, but who would want an old computer that doesn't even boot up anymore? I also noticed the tamper-with XP install disc that I had gotten off eBay was missing as well. In its place was a different disc. It was a white CD-ROM with something written on it in green Sharpie. I picked up the disc and read, "This is the last remaining evidence that I know of. Keep it secret or I'll have to destroy it too." I glanced down at the table the disc had been sitting on. Where it had been was a single dollar bill. It wasn't crinkled or damaged in any way, unlike most dollar bills. It was in absolutely perfect condition, as if it had just been made. I took the disc and the dollar over to my friend's house, the one that has the laptop that I'm typing these words on. I explained how both my computers were destroyed and he agreed to let me borrow it whenever I needed to. So I got on the laptop and put the CD in, and on the CD was just one file, $1.wav. On August 26, 2011, John Goodman made another blog post regarding his continuing research on $1.wav. Hey everybody, it's me again. So you all remember that $1.wav crap I posted about a week or so? Right. Well, like I said, I did some research on it. Simply searching $1.wav on Google yielded no results. I asked on a message board about the file, but nobody seemed to have even heard of it before. That is, until I got a reply from some guy saying he knew of the file and had bad times with it. It went as follows. Oh, don't even remind me. $1.wav? It's amazing how much trouble a 4-minute sound clip of heavily distorted music can cause. It was years ago. Some person on Craigslist was selling a computer with Windows XP already installed on it. At the time, Vista was still in beta and 7 didn't even exist yet. I went to her house in Cleveland to pick up the computer. I brought it home and turned it on. I noticed the WAV file in the c.windows.media folder entitled $1.wav. Curious, I opened it and listened to it. It was nothing special, perhaps a little bit creepy, but it didn't interest me. I closed it and went to the bathroom. I came back to the computer and I could not believe what I saw. Everything was changed to dollars or some crap, and a bunch of error messages titled $1.wav. I tried using my antivirus to fix what I instantly took as a virus, but it wouldn't open. I tried turning off the computer, but it wouldn't turn off no matter what. The only thing that worked was unplugging it. I tried to boot in safe mode and use my antivirus there, but upon trying to open it, my computer made this bizarre noise and shut off, and refused to turn back on. I don't mean refuse to boot into the OS, I mean literally would not power on, as if it wasn't plugged in. The next day, my computer was gone with just a single dollar bill in its place. I know it sounds insane, and you probably won't believe me unless you had a similar experience with the file yourself. Cleveland. eBay had told me the item location was Cleveland, Ohio. I now had a new mission: track down the person that sold me the installed disk. I replied to him saying that I had indeed had a very similar experience and requested he give me the exact address of the woman that sold him the computer, as I wanted to have a little talk with her. I probably sounded like a stalker, but I didn't really give a crap. I needed to figure this out. Surprisingly, the user had already actually sent me the address of the woman to me in a private message. Living in Ohio myself, Cleveland was not too far away, so me and my dog got in the car and drove off. We arrived at a small yellow house that could only be the home of a woman who sold me the install desk. We walked up to the front door and rang the doorbell. The woman almost instantly answered the door. She seemed to be an elderly woman, short and stout with white hair tied up in a bun. Then I looked into her eyes. Oh, those eyes. They seeped through me and into my soul, hungrily examining it, seeing if it was suitable to feast upon. I almost sprinted back to my car and drove off right then and there, but I couldn't. I had a mystery to solve. "Why, hello, John Goodman," said the woman in a menacing voice that sent shivers down my spine. My first thought, oh dear, she knows my name. Oh God, please help me. My dog growled threateningly at the woman. It took all of my courage to sputter out. "Look, I don't have time for fooling around. What is $1.wave, and why did you put it in my Windows XP install disk?" "Oh, I can't tell you that," cackled the woman, who, I was now certain was no good. "Why not?" I countered angrily. "Because," she said, the evil woman. "However, I can tell you this. Beware in the days that follow, for $1 will haunt until all is hollow." And before I could say another word, the woman shut the door on me, cackling wickedly. I had no other choice but to walk back to the car. Along the way, a man came by and asked me, "What were you doing over there?" "I was talking to the woman that lived in that house over there," I replied. The man's expression became concerned. Nobody has lived in that house for over 10 years. I looked to the house, but instead of the bright yellow cheery house that I had seen when I arrived there was a crumbling, abandoned foundation with a wooden plank nailed to the front door saying, "Condemned" in green letters. But I was just talking to an elderly woman that lived there a minute ago, I argued. All the color drained from the man's face. "Elderly woman?" "Yes," I said. "You know, with her hair all tied up in a bun and whatnot?" The last person who lived there was an elderly woman, always having her hair tied up in a bun, but she's dead. So, I didn't actually find out much of anything new about $1.wav, but apparently it was created by a ghost. Interesting, but it's no laughing matter. I realized that the moment I saw that dang woman out of the corner of my eye, giving me that freaking soul-devouring stare and smiling like a maniac, when I focused on her, she disappeared. I then proceeded to sprint out of the room and hide under the blanket for the rest of the night. When I dared go back into the living room, a dollar bill lay on the floor where the woman had been. On August 29th, Goodman updated the blog again with yet another report about his research on the ominous $1.wav. It's official. That old hag is stalking me. Since my last post, I've been catching glimpses of her out of the corner of my eye, always with that soul-devouring stare and demented smile. She always vanishes as soon as I focus on her, and always has to be at night when it happens. Each time I get the heck out of there and hide under a blanket for the rest of the night, when I dare enter the room again, there's a dollar bill with the woman was. I have actually collected all of the dollar bills she left me, beginning with the one that came with that last evidence disc, into one wallet. I've gone 3 days straight without sleep because of this crap. In the most recent incident, she was even holding a bloody knife. That was enough encouragement for me. I packed up a few things and me and my dog piled into the car and went to my friend's house. Unrelated, I haven't told you my dog's name yet, have I? Her name is Coco, as in chocolate cocoa. Anyways, as I was saying, I told him everything that had happened. I had kept it a secret because I figured if I told him he'd think I was insane, but at this point I had really no other option. About $1.wav, the old hag that seems to want to kill me for some reason, etc. I expected him to say I was crazy and call a mental institution, but miraculously, he actually believed me. I guess he knew I wouldn't make crap like this up, so I'm going to be staying at his place until the situation blows by. Posted August 30th, 2011. Tonight my friend glanced out the window and all the color had drained from his face. And Coco growled menacingly at it. I looked out the window when I saw it. That blasted old hag. She stared into the room from outside with that soul-devouring stare and that same demented smile. Then she disappeared. We didn't need any more encouragement. We pulled down those blinds and we nailed boards to every window in the house, as well as the front and back doors. I don't think we'll be going outside for a while. Posted August 31st, 2011. I went on my friend's laptop and checked the forum thread I had posted asking about $1.wav. Someone had replied there under the username $1, and guess what their profile picture was? That cursed old hag's face with their trademark soul-eating stare and demented grin. Her reply said simply, "Oh, more evidence. Guess I'll have to destroy it." I clicked the reply button to respond, but it said that the thread never existed. Furthermore, when I searched the username $1, it said no such user had ever existed. Weirdest of all, her join date had been in 1928. That was 9 freaking decades ago. The internet didn't even exist back then. Posted September 1st, 2011. While on my friend's laptop, a dialog box suddenly appeared, prompting me to download $1.exe. Knowing this could be more of the old hag's haunting, I canceled the download. But guess what? It downloaded anyways. Ain't that just nifty? As soon as it finished downloading, it opened itself up. I prepared for the worst. Another computer-destroying virus, the old hag contained within a computer file. It opened. It was a game. A game. Of all the wretched things $1.exe could have been, it was just some PC game. It showed a generic menu screen with the buttons play, exit, and options. The background was a picture of that dollar bill. I clicked options, just some graphic settings and such. I went back and clicked play, again preparing myself for the worst. It gave an instruction screen on how to play. Basically, the concept was that you were a bank robber and in each level you had to go through obstacles to get to the bank and rob it. In each bank you would have to fight a boss, and if you beat the boss you'd get money. So I played the game with my friend and Coco watching anxiously. Unrelated again, my friend's name is Bill. It was your generic platform game, and I played through it quite easily. I beat 3 levels and then the 4th one was the final one before I got to the first bank. I beat that level and fought the boss. The boss was some kind of banker with superpowers or something. It was a World 1 boss, so he was ridiculously easy to beat. I beat him by shooting him in the head with a pistol and got the money. The game counted up my scores and so forth before taking me to the first level of World 2. I figured I had played enough, so I tried to exit the window, but clicking X only greeted me with the Windows error sound. It wanted me to keep playing, and judging by all the weird crap that had happened to me recently, the reasons couldn't be good. So I tried ending the application process with Task Manager, but the end process button only gave me the error sound again. And I tried shutting down, but the shutdown button gave me the same results. It was very similar to when $1.wav had first destroyed my old computer, because when the laptop was running on a battery, I had to take the battery out to shut it off. I put the battery back in, rebooted, and everything was normal again. I deleted $1.exe. It didn't come back like $1.wav did, it stayed deleted. Posted September 4th, 2011. More corner of my eye sightings of the old hag. In all of them, she's holding a bloody knife. Boarding up our windows and doors didn't seem to help. She still got into the house. Today we unboarded the front door to go and get the Sunday paper. Even if we're hiding from a sadistic ghost woman who wants to kill us, we still gotta keep up on the news, right? It said that a banker had been found dead at a local bank with a bullet wound in his forehead. It showed a picture of this man, and to our horror, he looked exactly like the World 1 boss from $1.exe. The way in which I had defeated him had even been a pistol to the head, and the paper said there was a bullet wound on his head. As I read the paper, I saw the old hag again out of the corner of my eye, holding a dead corpse under her arm that looked just like the banker. This time, I didn't focus on her. I focused on the paper to see what would happen if I didn't make her disappear. If she tried to kill me or anything, I'd just look at her. She just kept standing there with that demented smile and sullying stare. After a few moments, her smile began to fade and turn to a frown, as if she was disappointed that I hadn't seemed to have noticed her. I looked to Bill, and surprisingly, he had followed suit. Even Coco was pretending not to notice the hag. I turned back to the paper so I could continue seeing the hag out of the corner of my eye. It wasn't easy trying not to see something yet see it at the same time. I kept wanting to look, but I knew if I focused on her, she would disappear. I wanted to know what would happen if that didn't happen. Her disappointed expression then turned to a fierce and angry look. She raised her knife and lunged at me. In unison, me, Bill, and Coco all whirled around to face the ghost. She stopped abruptly just as she was about to reach us, then vanished. This raised yet another question. If she wants to kill us so badly, why didn't she just do it and get it all over with, instead of taunting us like this? Maybe she doesn't want to kill us. Maybe she just wants to make us think she wants to kill us, make us paranoid to the point of insanity, just for her own sadistic pleasure and amusement. Sure wouldn't surprise me. Posted September 5th, 2011. I woke up this morning from the little sleep that I actually got. I opened my eyes expecting to see the ceiling above me, but then I froze. Standing above me, looking down into my eyes with her soul-devouring stare and insane smile, was the hag. For several moments there was silence. I said nothing, for I was too afraid. I didn't move, I didn't even breathe. My heart threatened to burst, it was pounding so hard. Then finally the hag broke the silence. "Good morning, John," she said menacingly. It took all of my courage to respond. "Just tell me what you want and I'll give it to you. Just leave me alone," I replied. "It's just so sad when you have to live under a curse. The curse of my own creation. Forced to pass on the curse to others. The curse of $1, of greed. I never asked for this, but after having it shoved down my throat so much, I've come to enjoy it. I'm not sure if it's my sanity that's been pushed by this, or what, but it comforts me to know others are feeling the same pain as I am." "Enough of your cryptic crap," I yelled, and then suddenly Coco jumped out of nowhere and tackled the hag to the ground, growling fiercely. The hag just smiled. "Go ahead, do it, rip me to bloody shreds. It might just be the only hope of destroying this hurt curse for once and for all. Your suffering will be gone, and everyone who has ever fallen victim to the greed's villainy." Before another word could be said, Coco began tearing that woman to bloody shreds. I never knew my dog could be so violent, but I didn't care. If it meant the end of this terror that loomed over us, it was worth it. Me and Bill, who had been woken up by all the commotion, could only watch as the hag was torn apart. She didn't even scream. In fact, she smiled, as if saying, "Thank God it's finally over." And then it was done. Her body was mangled and ripped so badly you couldn't recognize her. Blood was splattered everywhere. Then the body, or the pieces of it, began to shimmer and fade away, and then they were gone. No trace of them remained, as if nothing had happened. Then we noticed a note laying on the floor where the hag had been. Bill picked it up and read it out loud. "Destroy the dollars, destroy the disc. Do it before the remnants of the curse that lie within them enslave you as it enslaved me." I instantly knew what I had to do. I found the wallet I used to keep all the dollars the hag had left me, and I lit a match to it. A blurred, curdling scream of pain sounded from it and almost made me jump out of my skin. I threw it outside and it burned until it was nothing but ash and dust. Then I found the disc containing $1.WAV and I threw it to the ground and stomped on it. Another blood-curdling scream, and the disc spontaneously burst into flame. Now that's what I call a burning CD-ROM. It burned until it was nothing but a bunch of melted plastic. I had to use a shovel to scrape it off the ground and chuck it outside. For the rest of the day, nothing else happened. The hag never came back. Nothing. I think at long last this nightmare might be over, but I won't make assumptions too quickly. I'll wait a while and see if anything else comes up. If nothing else does, I guess it's safe to assume the haunting of $1.WAV has ended. Posted November 12th, 2011. Well, I think I've waited long enough without anything happening that I can safely assume this is all over. Me and Coco have moved back into our house. Things seem to be returning to normal. And after some thinking, I've come up with a hypothesis as to what all that crap was about. I think the hag was forced by a curse to do those terrible things. The curse was like a virus, using her to spread to others. I guess $1.WAV and all associated things are duplicates of this virus. I can only assume its proper name is greed, since that's what the hag kept referring to it as. How greed came to be or what its purpose is, I can only wonder. The hag seemed to hint that it was she who created it, and it was a screw-up that she made that caused all of this. I guess those dollars and the disc and the hag were the last remnants of greed, and by destroying them, I destroyed greed forever. She was so anxious to get her hands on evidence and destroy it because she wanted to destroy the curse of greed. I don't know whether any of these guesses are even remotely correct, but I don't really care. As long as this nightmare is over, I'm content with not knowing, and I'm pretty damn certain that it's finally over. You'd think so, huh? My name is Henry Goodman. Yes, I am related to John Goodman, the blogger that had a rather unpleasant experience with a file called $1.WAV. I am his brother. I am the father of 3 kids and I have a wife whose name is Jenny Goodman. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm here to tell you about a rather disturbing experience I had involving a used camcorder I bought off eBay. It's strange. Both me and John's problem happened when we bought something off of eBay. Anywho, on with my story. So, me and my family were planning a vacation and we wanted to capture our trip on tape, as well as take some photos. Unfortunately, our video camera was broken, so we would have to either get a new one or just take photos instead. So, I went on eBay to see if anybody was selling a camcorder. Well, long story short, I found one, I bid on it, and won. A few days later, I received a small package which had the camcorder in it. I opened it up and took the camcorder out. It was the typical camcorder, with a little small screen on it and such. I had some blank camcorder tape, so I opened up the camcorder to put one inside. To my surprise, however, there was already a tape inside. I assumed it was the one the previous owner forgot to take out. It was a used camcorder. I hope nothing important on it, otherwise they'd be pretty upset about losing it. I took the tape out and looked at it. There was a piece of yellow masking tape stuck on the front, labeled with black Sharpie, 2006. Just 2006 and nothing else. I decided to play the tape, just to see what was on it. So I put the tape back inside the camcorder and hooked up the camcorder up to my TV to watch the tape on the TV. I rewound the tape, but it was already at the beginning. So I did the usual crap to play a tape from a camcorder on the TV. The tape started with 10 seconds of a blank blue screen. Then it cut to someone filming a school playground on a cloudy day. Kids ran around and played, but whoever was filming seemed to just be interested in one of them, a little girl. Probably around 5 years old with pale skin, brown hair, brown eyes, and wearing a yellow coat. Whoever was filming seemed to be following her and watching her play. Sometimes the person filming would talk to the girl, and it was a man voice. He called to the girl Alice, and I assumed the person filming was the girl's father. I assumed it must have been some recording of her last day of school or something. So if that was a recording of the cameraman's daughter last day of school, it must have been important to him. I felt bad for him losing something so precious. But I had little time to ponder that because suddenly a very loud droning buzzing sound burst from the speakers, scaring the living crap out of me. The scenery had changed. It was now nighttime and the school was deserted, except for the girl. All the while that ear-piercing buzz continued to sound from the TV speakers as I plugged my ears. The girl was turned away from the camera so I couldn't see her face. She just stood there motionless. Then she turned to face the camera and what I saw, well, I didn't see that one coming. The girl's eyeballs were gone, just dark empty sockets where they should have been. There wasn't blood or anything. The eyeballs were literally just gone. Her mouth was drooling some kind of disgusting green slime, and her nose was gone, not like cut off, but just not there. Just plain skin where it should have been. Think of Patrick from SpongeBob. You get the idea. The scene then burst into static. The buzzing noise stopped, but you could hear the sounds of knives slicing against flesh, and blood-curdling screams. Then the scene returned, and the girl was hung by a swing in a swing set, with several nasty wounds around her body and a bloody knife laying on the ground below her. Her eyeballs were still gone, and her mouth still dripped the weird green slime, and she still had no nose. The tape was silent, no loud buzzing or anything. Just silence as the girl dangled around. Heart pounding so hard it threatened to burst, scared out of my mind because of the sudden buzzing sound, and to a lesser degree the disturbing footage that accompanied it. I sprinted over to the TV and shut it off. I ejected the tape from the camcorder, shut the camcorder off, and unhooked it from the TV. I took a hammer and smashed the tape to tiny pieces. Breathing heavily, still not sure what the heck just happened. I sat back down on the couch. I just stayed there for a while, staring at the blank TV screen. After I had finally calmed down, Jenny came home from the grocery store. I helped her bring the groceries in. I didn't tell her about the tape, because she'd think I was going insane. The dream I had that night was not pleasant. I was in the dark hallway, my throat. It felt like someone was repeatedly flicking my Adam's apple. That loud buzzing from the tape played non-stop. It wasn't coming from any direction. It was just there, in my ears, as if I was wearing headphones and the sound was playing on them. I was scared out of my mind. I wanted desperately to get out, to go home, to be in the comfort of my bed. I tried crying for help, but no matter how hard I tried, no sound would come out. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. Not having a bucket or toilet nearby, I puked on the floor. Instead of puke, I hurled up a small Sony videotape with masking tape on the front labeled 2006 in black Sharpie. Then the tape morphed into a girl. No, not just any girl. It was the girl in the tape. Her eyeballs were gone. Her mouth oozed green slime, and she had no nose. She slowly walked down the hallway, and for some reason I followed. All the while that awful buzzing noise kept playing. She led me down the hallway, and I realized where I was. I was in an elementary school. Kids' drawings and other art lined the walls. Posters saying, "Vote Josh for school president" were everywhere. You get the idea. She led me out an open door and into the playground. It was the very same playground from the tape, and a man was there holding a camcorder recording us. But not just any camcorder, it was the very same camcorder that I had gotten off of eBay. He just stood there, recording us. The girl led me over to a swing set. She pulled a knife out of her pocket. My body then became frozen in place. I couldn't move my eyes. I couldn't move my head. I was forced to watch in horror as the girl sliced herself up with the knife, giving herself the same wounds as in the video. And the buzzing sound stopped, being replaced with the girl's blood-curdling screams of agony. Then she put her neck into one of the swings as if it was a noose. Then the swing pulled up on its own accord, killing the girl. The girl dangled from the quote-unquote noose, just like in the video. After a few moments, I could move my body again. I sprinted over to the man holding the camcorder. He just looked at me and smiled. "That's my girl," he said. "I'm so proud." I jolted awake. My heart pounded, my forehead was sweaty, and I was breathing heavily. Jenny lay next to me, apparently still asleep. I sat there for a while and finally calmed down. I lay back down in bed and closed my eyes. I couldn't fall back to sleep. My tossing and turning finally woke Jenny up, and she got mad and went to sleep on the sofa. She opened the door, but then she froze. She just stood there, and I could see her hands trembling. I asked her what was the matter. She just pointed a trembling finger out the door. I got out of bed and looked where she was pointing. My blood ran cold. There was a hallway outside of the door, going out to the living room, where the TV was. From down the hall, I could see the TV. It was on, and on it was the little girl's face, missing eyeballs and all. But then I realized that the TV was in a corner of the room that I could not see from where I was. My sleep-deprived brain mistook what I saw as the TV. But it wasn't the TV. It was the window. For crying out loud, what is it with my family and creepy stuff always happening to us? Oh, sorry. Let me elaborate. I'm Sally Goodman, one of the 3 Goodman siblings. The other 2 are John Goodman and Henry Goodman, my brothers. Lately, freaky things have been happening to us. First, John gets haunted by some insane ghost hag. Then a freaky mutant girl's face is staring through Henry's living room window. I prayed to God that nothing would happen to the 3rd of the Goodman siblings, but nope, something just had to happen to me, because I guess the world hates me. Alright, enough of my self-pity, on with my story, I ain't got all day. Well, I had moved into an apartment in Dayton, Ohio. I was unpacking my things and so forth. There was a small storage room by the patio of the apartment. I opened the door to put some things in there. It seemed to be empty and I walked in. Then I looked down on the floor and saw I had almost stepped on a black USB drive. I picked it up and stuck it in my pocket. I was curious as to why it was left sitting in a storage closet. Oh, and also if there was anything on it, I had my laptop with me. So I decided to see for myself later on after I had unpacked a few more things. Well, later on in the day, after I had done all the unpacking for that day, I got out my laptop and turned it on. It didn't have an internet connection, since I still needed to get the Comcast to transfer my cable and phone services over to my new home. Just in case there were viruses on the drive, I loaded up Windows XP on a virtual machine. I plugged in the USB drive and it did the usual auto-run thing, prompting me with what I wanted to do. I chose to open a folder to view the files. What was in the drive seemed to be files for some kind of game. I ignored those and found the actual game application, which was named knob.exe. I opened up the file and a new window opened up. It was the game. It seemed to be some kind of 16-bit platformer game. You controlled some stick figure thing and guided him through the levels. There was no title screen or anything. It just went right to the first level. The level was some city streets or something, and you had to avoid the traffic to get through the level. The really weird part was every now and then someone walking along would notice the stick figure and scream bloody murder. The stick figure would then proceed to grab the person and strangle them to death. I got through the first 4 levels, but then I got to the 5th level. Instead of a city street, the stick figure was standing inside of a storage room. My heart skipped a beat when I realized where I was. It was a perfect 16-bit replica of the storage room I had found the USB drive in. Without me even moving him, the character walked over to the door and opened it. He went outside and the scene transitioned to another familiar place, the patio just outside my apartment. Out of paranoia, I looked out through the glass door leading out to the apartment patio, and to my horror, somebody was there. It was the most disturbing creature I had ever seen. He was completely naked and hunched over like a gorilla. He was horribly skinny and so pale that it looked like he'd never seen the light of day in his life. Black fur grew along his spine. His face, he wore an expression of an unspeakable malice and insanity. His mouth was 2 times the size of a normal human's mouth. His teeth were huge, and his evil smile stretched up all the way to his forehead. He had long black hair that drooped down to his shoulders. He had claws longer than his fingers, and they looked sharp enough to cut my head clean off. Then the thing I dreaded the most happened. He looked at me with his cold, wicked eyes. That and that horrible smile. I glanced back at my laptop screen for a second. The stick figure on the game was looking into the glass window door just as this terrible creature was doing. I looked back. The creature was beckoning me over to him with his bony clawed index finger. The character on the game was also beckoning. I didn't want to go with this beast. Well, I couldn't, but I had lost control of my body. I got up and walked straight into the clutches of that monster. I tried to turn away, but my body fought back. I opened the glass window door and stepped out onto the patio. Being close up to this thing was even worse than seeing him from inside my apartment. He held up a map for me to see and pointed out some directions with his wicked sharp claw. Then he held up that claw to my throat. He sliced. I woke up with a start, sweating and breathing heavily, heart pounding against my ribs like a hammer. It was just a dream. After a while of just sitting there, I calmed down. It seemed I had fallen asleep sometimes while playing the game. I guess it made sense. I hadn't been having trouble sleeping the past few nights and was probably tired. I looked at the laptop screen. There was a message saying the game had encountered a problem and needed closed, blah blah blah. I became curious about the directions the creature in my dream had given me. They were real directions to a real place, some pond around that area. I decided just for the heck of it, I'd go there tomorrow. I didn't expect to find anything since it was only a dream, but still. The next day after breakfast, I got in my car and followed the directions to the pond. I got there and got out of the car. I skipped some rocks and such for a few minutes, not having much of a reason to stay. I started to walk back to the car. But then I noticed something on the ground out of the corner of my eye. I stopped and went over to examine it. It was a wooden trap door of some kind. I remembered the nightmare I had and became paranoid. And then I realized how silly I was being. It was just a dream. Nothing bad could really be here, right? There was a handle on the trap door that I could lift to open it. Cautiously, I grabbed the handle and pulled up to reveal the darkness below. I needed a flashlight. I thought I had one in the back of my car. I went to go check, and sure enough, I found one. I turned it on and climbed down into the darkness below. The space was empty, with nothing but dirt on all sides. But then my flashlight shined on something that made my blood run cold. Something that made me sprint back out the trap door, slamming it shut behind me and back into my car, to my drive home, and smashed the USB drive I had found the day before into tiny pieces and then burned the pieces. The disturbing part is the hissing sound the drive made when I did this, like some terrible snake. It was a figure, hunched over like a gorilla, horribly skinny and pale, fur on spine, drooping black hair, insane deformed face. It was the creature from my nightmare, and he was looking right into my eyes. The following was taken from a newspaper article. Several sightings of a horribly mutant humanoid figure wandering the streets of Ohio cities have been reported. The supposed witnesses describe it as being a pale figure, hunched over like a gorilla, having black fur along its spine, vicious claws, long black hair, a terribly large mouth, and an expression of pure malice and insanity. Some witnesses report seeing it strangle people to death, seemingly at random. It would be easy to dismiss these claims as some sick joke if it weren't for the sudden and mysterious deaths of several people. Every person who had died has been identified as being strangled to death. John Goodman says, "Hey Sally, thanks for sending this to me. More of this creepy crap. I've never been superstitious, but I'm seriously starting to think we're cursed or something. This chain of freak shows that's been going down lately can't just be dumb luck." Henry Goodman says, "Yeah, we seem to be attracting the paranormal like magnets. First you, then me, now Sally? I don't know what's going on, but I hope it ends soon." Anonymous says, "You hope so, huh?"
Two-Face, letting the blow, plus getting the dough. We be checking your hoe while you sweating the flow. I be intellectual, incredible, and flexible. I turn the verbs sexual, impeccable, and technical. I be the first letter, you ain't know. Check the alphabetical order. My natural elements, chemical shorter to leave it cruel. More bloodier than menstrual waters. On the 28th, your thoughts are pennyweight. I'ma generate these bonds. Watch as I detonate. At any rate, I separate like races. Niggas segregate you featherweights.